Yeah, welcome back. It's an interesting title. A spear killed an entire city. How is that possible? One spear? Must have been a strong guy holding the spear. Well, today we're going to find out how exactly this was possible. Pasuk says, beginning of in the Sefer Yehoshua over here, Perek Ches, Pasuk Yud Ches. Vayomer Adonai el Yehoshua, Netei bakidon asher biyadecha el ha'ai, ki biyadecha etnenu vayit Yehoshua bakidon asher biyado el ayir. Just going to focus on one pasuk. One pasuk at a time. That's the way to grow. Hashem tells Yehoshua, Netei, stretch forth. Bakidon. This word bakidon is a very rare word. Not that I would consider myself an expert in any way, but in fact, I can't even recall this word coming up in any other place. The Metzudas Sion, which starts over here, and I just don't like this print that I keep using of the Mikros Gedolos over here. This is just the digital. This is not the physical print that I use. Pekido on the Metzudas Sion says Baroimach, a spear. Roimach, like Pinchas, Veikach Roimach, when he killed Cosby and Zimri. Hashem tells Yehoshua, reach forth, stretch out this spear, Asher biyadecha, that's in your hand, El ha'ai, towards I. Ki biyadecha, because in your hand, Etneno, I gave the city of Ai. Then the pasuk concludes by stating, "Vayit Yehoshua bakidon asher biyado el ayir," that Yehoshua did so. He stretched out the spear that was in his hand to the city of Ai. He actually did so. So we see from over here. We see from over here something very interesting. That for some reason this spear got the job done. We don't know how. Metzudas David explains, Lastly, Simin laha'oiriv lavo. This was giving a sign to the ambush that now they should ambush the city, that the people that were hiding at the side of the city. Because remember, Yehoshua drew them out, the people of Ai, thinking that, it's a small force. We could be victorious again, like the previous battle where we successfully killed 36 people and then caused the Jews to retreat. And he was giving a sign that everyone should now move along with the ambush. That's how the Metzudas learns this. Rashi also. The Barbanel says that the spear was there so it could be noticeable for the people for the ambush to get going, that they should begin for the soldiers that were far away. That's what he says. The Mesilas HaNaviim goes into this more. And he says, this is similar, this is Rabbi Yamin Eisenberger, he says, this is similar to this story a lot, like the story with Moshe in Sefer Shmos, Yud Zayin Yud Aleph. That when Moshe would raise his hands, Vayak Asher Yomer Moshe, under the governor of Yisrael, the Jews were victorious. And when he put his hands down, then they wouldn't be victorious. And the Kli Yakar over here explains. We have similarities between the two, and the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Chav Tes already asked, what? Just because Moshe raised his hands, that's why they were victorious or not? Rather, the Gemara teaches us, whenever the Jews were looking above, they were looking at Hashem. And they subjugated their heart towards Hashem. They listened to Hashem, they followed in his ways. Hayom is Gabrim, they were victorious, but if not, then they would fall. So too with Yehoshua. It awakened the Jews when he lifted the spear to follow their Father in heaven, follow the right way. This is kind of miraculous that he was able to keep his hand up while holding a spear so long. Try holding a 10-pound weight, holding it up like this. See how long you could hold it up for. Miraculous to be able to hold your hand that long. So what then is the difference between Moshe and Yehoshua, if they're so similar? Maybe there isn't a difference, who knows? What's going on over here? Difference is, Moshe had a mata, a staff. Yeshua is holding a spear. What's the difference between a mata and a roimach, or a kidon? Romach/kidon. The staff versus the spear. This is hidden and deep ideas that Rizal discusses this. We can only try to understand what they're saying, but the Rabbeinu Bechaya in Shmos Yudzayin Hey says, a Navi, the only prophet that was able to use the staff is Moshe. Because the staff is the beginning of all of the signs that were given to Moshe, who was the beginning of all of the prophets. The signs to get the Exodus going from Egypt. Yehoshua, as we know, as we discussed already in the past, was a student, a Talmud of Moshe. He didn't use the staff. He used the spear. Why? The staff is like, the staff demonstrates adnus. You're a master. You're a leader. You have the ability to do whatever you want. A spear is more similar just to the average person. You go out to war, you have a spear. It doesn't show that you have an authoritative position and rulership over everyone else. So that's why Moshe specifically had the staff, which isn't a typical weapon. More like something that is a crutch, helps you walk. Whereas Yehoshua had the spear, which is more like just a weapon, more part of the people. The Gematria explains the Rabbeinu Bachaya, the numerical value, and based on also how the Torah Chaim learns the Rabbeinu Bachaya. Vehamata, the numerical value is Aleph Daled Nun Yod, Hashem's name, meaning showing that Hashem is the master. Kidon, the Gematria, the numerical value is Hamalach, the angel. What's the explanation over here? This difference between the staff and the spear represents perfectly the difference between Moshe's prophecy and Yeshua's prophecy. And the Rambam talks about this in Hilchos Yesodei Torah as well, which we also discussed in the past. Moshe's prophecy was completely accurate and correct. There was no intermediary that was necessary in order for Moshe to receive his prophecy. Moshe received the prophecy directly from Hashem. Masha'in Kain, whereas the prophecy of Yehoshua could only be achieved and properly understood via an angel. That's the idea over here. Moshe was at a higher level than Yehoshua. We discussed in the past the Gemara in Baba Metzia and Ayin Hey. The face of Moshe is like the face of the sun, unlike Yehoshua, which is like the moon. The moon gets its light from the sun and reflects it. Moshe was a poel. He was like the mashpia, the influencer, the giver, the noisein, where Yehoshua is more the makabel, the receiver. Similar to the sun. The sun gives the light, the moon receives it, does something with it. The difference in the way that Moshe received his prophecy and Yehoshua is like the difference between also the heavens and the earth, the sky and the earth. The heavens is more of the giver, the earth is more of the receiver. That's why during Moshe's time they ate bread from the skies, the man, because Moshe was more like the skies. Whereas in the time of Yehoshua was actual bread, which was down here on planet Earth. The Ramban says that whatever Moshe and Yehoshua did, that's what Eliyahu Hanavi will do in the future in Mashiach. Interesting idea. That's the story with the spear. Okay, we'll continue next time.